Hi everyone. Hello friends in Facebook land. My name is Maria and we are here for Lunchtime Live on this Tuesday before the holiday. I've turned it on a minute early. Let's see who's here before we get started. I'm not seeing anyone yet. We'll wait just a minute. I know this is kind of one of those sleepy weeks where some of us are traveling and or a little mentally checked out from our regular routines as we get ready for this traditional Thanksgiving weekend of 4 days off typically for a lot of people. So let's see, we have a couple of people in our audience who are just signing on. Hi, thank you for a thumbs up. Everyone can hear me all right before I get started for Lunchtime Live. And I think so. I don't see any comments about the sound being an issue. It is a gray day here at the Tijuana Estuary. I'm standing right outside the visitor center. We're in some coastal sage scrub. Thank you, Johnson and Cassandra. I'm here again outside the visitor center in some coastal sage scrub for today's Lunchtime Live, the wild and wily coyote. And my name is Maria. It is a gray day down here in Imperial Beach. And maybe we have some new folks in the audience today. If you're watching this live, feel free to ask questions. There is a slight delay. Type them in and I'll do my best. Hi, Anne. Thanks for saying hi. And if you're watching later as the recording, feel free to type any questions you have about today's subject and we'll go back and answer them. So today we are here. I don't have a live coyote. The one thing when we do the animal species, it's very challenging to get the real thing, but so we're going to do a series of photos, and I want to shout out to one of our Facebook friend of the estuary, Mark, who donated these lovely photos that he took of a coyote. Now, this is not a common occurrence here at the Tijuana Estuary, but we do see them here. So I'm gonna guess that most of you are familiar with a coyote, at least from maybe even the cartoon, the classic cartoon, but also they are a relatively common's the right word. They're not an endangered species, but they are a widespread species. Canis latrans throughout North America, into Mexico, a little bit into Canada, South America. Canis latrans. So they range in size. Males are bigger than the females, up to about 44 pounds, but they don't have to get that big. Females up to about 40 pounds. 3.5 to 4.5 feet in length. Okay? And then also this very sort of slender, distinct, sort of delicate, thin frame and face. Look at that sweet coyote. Look at that. Ears, large ears, bigger than a wolf. Okay, and that grayish fur. Oh, and feel free to chime in if you've seen a coyote. I'm going to share a couple of my coyote sightings with you, stories a little later. But the predominantly grayish fur with that kind of orangey brown color, sometimes known as a fulvus. That orangey brown color. And this is a rather large looking one. Are they in the East Lake area? Yeah, you can see these were taken in some of that coastal sage scrub or grassland-like areas. We see them here at the Tijuana Estuary in sort of the coastal sage scrub area, just butting up against the salt marsh, but inland mission trails, in our neighborhoods, hi Jose, canyons nearby. They do very well in and among the human population. So they've adapted fairly well to development. And so maybe you've seen one in your neighborhood, maybe not even in an open space, especially if you live near one. Yes, very beautiful pictures. So Johnson And Cassandra is commenting on these beautiful pictures, and Mark is a wonderful photographer, and he's so generous to share his photos with us. So we see their tail is, they carry their tail. Cass, okay. Well, thank you, Cass. We see their tail in the downward. So if you're thinking this looks like a wolf, and you're not really sure of the distinction, they are different from wolves. They are ears are longer than wolf ears, but their tails are in the downward, where I think a wolf carries its tail more horizontally. We see, this is kind of tough to see, their eyes are yellow and they are colorblind. Let's see if this is noticeable. Yeah, it's hard. These are great photos, but getting close to a coyote is a pretty rare treat. Although they are, in our human environment, they are skittish. Now you'll see them typically dawn or dusk. That's known as crepuscular, when they're most active. When I've seen them, it is dawn or dusk. I've most often heard them. They are fairly vocal. In fact, they have 11 different vocalizations. And what I've typically heard is the way the pups kind of make more like a yipping noise. Now I can't do a coyote noise, but has anyone ever heard coyotes and heard them? They kind of have that yipping yowl. You'll hear them sort of in a pack sound, but maybe you've hear just one. I've heard them more in a pack sound, more the pups, and I've heard this quite a bit hiking Mission trails in the early morning. They are solitary, but they also are in packs. They live in a family unit, or like a loose pack unit of individuals. So they're kind of flexible in how they're arranged socially. And I'll just wait a minute. Has anyone ever seen a coyote in person? Even in just driving down your neighborhood. But my guess is if you've seen one, it's typically not in the middle of the day. It's usually when they're resting or not as active. So dawn or dusk, I've seen them, like I said, at Mission trails on the service road, walking relatively close to me in one instance. It was coming at me on the other side of the road, and I couldn't believe how close it got before it decided to dart off the road. Now I've learned they can walk 3 to 10 miles a day. That's quite a bit. Their territories range from 15 to 24 miles. So they do a lot of patrolling of their territory. So you may see them walking, but they're often, you won't see them for long. They dart away. Now they when they're hunting, which I've never seen, and if you've seen a coyote on a chase, that would be something really cool. But they're primarily carnivorous. Going for the rabbits and rodents, and maybe even some snakes, including rattlesnakes. I think I've seen a picture someone submitted on iNaturalist, coyote and a rattlesnake. Pretty amazing. How it avoids the venom, I don't know. I guess it doesn't eat the head. But let's see, what does Jose say? We have one that comes during the daytime. I think it's a Mexican red wolf. Oh, okay. So yeah, I think wolves there is different behavior between wolves and coyotes and the domestic dog. Not sure if it's when they're active, but I have seen one in the middle of the day up in Laguna Meadow area. I was surprised to see it. So they will eat live prey, but they've been known to scavenge like on a carcass Sometimes they pee. I've heard they pee on their food to kind of mark it. But also in coyote scat, you will find berries. Actually, the toyon that's blooming right now. Maybe manzanita berries. So they do eat some vegetation, maybe to kind of clear that, get some fiber and clear the digestive system. That would be my guess. But primarily they are carnivorous, and when they hunt their prey from the front, kind of going for the throat, where I've read that wolves actually hunt from the back. They approach the prey from behind. So there's one difference there. They will, like I said, they can hunt alone, or they will in packs of like up to 12. And typically prey that's smaller, but they may, if in a pack, may take something much bigger. And another interesting, we did the bobcat a little while ago. Bobcats in our river valley, coyotes in the river valley and in the border field, but these two rarely interact. They really rarely interact with each other and compete with each other. But let's say they say that coyotes will dominate if needed, that interaction. So if there is a standoff, I guess, between a coyote and a bobcat, the coyote would probably fare better from what I've read. Now that would be something, but that's uncommon. Now the males and females, how they will come together, but it's the female that decides. So during the breeding season, the female will allow up to like 7 males to kind of follow her around for like a month before she decides who the winner is, who's going to be the mate, and that mate is a mate for life. So they are a monogamous species, and they will then choose a den made from a tree, a hollow tree, under some kind of ledge, maybe in some hedges, and they will use that den year after year. So monogamous and kind of building that home and establishing a territory. Now the female, once she is pregnant, she will be so for about 2 months, and during that time it's the male that will hunt the food and bring the food to her. Right? Once the pups are born, up to I think 6 in a litter, they will, after they're off of milk, so they're born, and they will be on her milk for about 10 days, and then after that it's regurgitated food, and then the male will assist in that role of feeding the pups. So then they take turns in that role. And the pups will start to develop a little bit of a hierarchy as they are being weaned. It takes up to about 2 months before they're fully weaned, and they will develop their own hierarchy between the males and the females, with different roles that they will play in there. And just I think one litter per year with the coyote. Right? And feel for any questions that you have about the coyote as we move on. We're getting close to, let's see, we talked about their territory. So someone asked would they be in East Lake. So very easily in East Lake. Like I said, they're very widespread. They've adapted to urbanization, but in San Diego, our urbanization is really has a lot of wild space and spread out between urbanization with these canyons and these natural spaces, so they will come into your neighborhoods. Now, when I talked about their diet, there was a study done in Claremont, California, and I hope no one listening, watching has experienced this, but the pet population is also a source of food, unfortunately, for the coyotes. So they don't discriminate. I mean, a meal is a meal, and as their territories have been encroached upon, they and any loose pets are fair game, I guess, in their minds. So there was that study done that said that the pet population played a pretty big role in the diet of the coyote. Let's see, if you're hiking and they come up to you, what should you do? Fight or flight or something else? Well, I think if you had to fight, or that's a great question. I am not an expert in this, but from experience, they're rather skittish. So if they were to sort of be aggressive towards you, which that is not so they're not interested. They're interested in things that are smaller than them. But I can't really give that kind of advice. I really can't give that kind of advice. And I just have never heard of a coyote attack of people. Now, that might be if you have a pet or something. Yeah, that is good. I'm wondering too. I just feel like then that maybe in that situation there'd be something wrong with that coyote. Maybe maybe some behavior by rabid or something. Yeah, you want to protect your pet. You want to protect your pet, and my guess would be that if your pet's in your arms, it's probably not going to attack you, but I can't say for sure. That's a good question. But anytime I've seen them, they are relatively skittish, except for that one time. But it really wasn't interested in me. It was just, it's a wide road. It was walking towards me. I was walking on my side of the road towards it, and it just, when it got kind of close, it popped into the vegetation. And it really showed no
aggressiveness or it remained relatively calm the entire time. It was very cool, and we were alone very early, or early-ish in the morning. Predators. Who are their predators? In some ways, humans are their predators because we've displaced their habitat, or if you're somewhere where you're protecting your property, maybe you have chickens or something like that. Humans they have taken upon themselves sometimes to get rid of a coyote, but also just a development in and of itself, so that loss of habitat. But in the wild, cougars and wolves are also their natural predators, but they're pretty high up on the food chain. All right, any other questions about the coyote? And I know there's quite a lot. They really, here at the Tijuana Estuary, around the visitor center, we've seen, some of us have been here a long time, and in the 23 years I've been here, I've seen one around the visitor center. But where I've seen them more commonly, if you know our trails, the 5th and Iris trailhead, walking towards the river mouth, I've seen them off the trails there. And again, I don't use this area daily, so if any of our neighbors who are watching or logging on later want to share how often they might see them, if you're an avid user of the trails near the river mouth, you may see them more often. I've seen maybe a handful of times in the years, but again, they're crepuscular, so it's dawn or dusk, and our trails close about that sort of time. And then down in Borderfield and River Valley, probably even more common down there. It's definitely more open space, less development. So they are seen here, not common to see, but more common than the bobcat, I would say. So everyone, thank you so much. Let's see, I don't see any more questions. We are here today. Our trails remain open. Our visitor center will be closed Thursday for the Thanksgiving holiday, but other than that, it's business as usual here for the next few days. And I hope everyone has a safe and happy Thanksgiving. if you're celebrating, and if you're getting out of town, good luck with that. And if you're not, you may come down to the Tijuana Estuary and enjoy what we have to share out on the trails and in the visitor center, if you can make it. So thank you, Sonia. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. So thanks, everyone. We'll be back here next week for another edition of Lunchtime Live. Thank you, Cass. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. So, all right. Bye, everyone.